The NBA wasn't always the global phenomenon it is today. There was a time when basketball was struggling to gain popularity, and one controversial rule change transformed the sport forever. I'm talking about a modification that increased scoring, added excitement, and propelled the NBA into the spotlight. Stick around to find out the unbelievable story of how removing this one rule changed the NBA forever. The National Basketball Association has become one of the most popular sports leagues in America and across the world. Millions of fans tune in to watch the best players on the planet showcase their skills, but it wasn't always this way. In the early days, the NBA struggled to attract the same level of interest as baseball and football. However, one significant rule change in the late 1970s dramatically shifted the trajectory of the league. By removing a certain restriction that limited scoring, the NBA opened the floodgates for players to reach new heights and catalyze the game's evolution into what it is today. In this video, we'll dive into the history behind this key rule change and how removing it transformed basketball forever. Number 1. The NBA's early struggles. In the 1940s and 50s, when the NBA was still known as the BAA, Basketball Association of America, it was viewed as inferior to the college game. There were concerns about the quality of play and low-scoring games. Fans found the college matchups with their fast pace and high scores to be more exciting. From 1958 to 1960, the NBA still lagged far behind Major League Baseball and the NFL in popularity. The average NBA game had just 107 points scored between the two teams. It was failing to attract and retain fans. Something needed to change to make NBA games high energy and compelling for audiences. Number 2. The introduction of the shot clock. In 1954, Syracuse Nationals owner Danny Biasone had an idea to speed up the game. He proposed introducing a timer that would require teams to attempt a shot within a certain time frame. The shot clock was set to 24 seconds. The shot clock rewarded offensive skills and enabled more possessions and scoring opportunities per game. Teams could no longer hold onto the ball endlessly and stall. After a 7-year trial run, the shot clock was officially implemented for the entire league in 1961. Scoring increased by over 14 points per game in the first year. Fans were responding well to the fast-paced, higher-intensity games, but an even more substantial change was on the horizon. Number 3. The NBA widens the lane. Even with the shot clock speeding up the tempo, the NBA remained constrained by its narrow lane size. The width of the key was a cramped 12 feet. This congested the area under the basket and hindered driving angles to the hoop. Players struggled to get high percentage shots near the rim. To open up the offense, the NBA almost doubled the lane width before the 1964-65 season. The newly widened lane stretched 16 feet across. Players now had more room to maneuver inside and attack the basket. Scoring skyrocketed. In the first year after the lane expansion, teams averaged an additional 15 points per game. This represented the highest year-over-year increase in league history. Widening the lane unlocked a more dynamic and aesthetically pleasing style of play. Number 4. Concerns about the rule. Changes not everyone was on board with the shot clock and wider lane. The Boston Celtics, who had dominated the NBA with a slower-paced, defensive-minded style of play, were vocal critics. Bill Russell feared the new rules would take away elements like rebounding and defensive positioning that were integral to the game. Some old-school owners, journalists, and even fans lamented the loss of the traditional style they were used to. But ultimately, most realized that these changes were necessary for the sport to survive and thrive. The higher scoring aesthetic was crucial to attracting new fans. Number 5. The rise of the NBA. The combined impact of the shot clock and wider lane triggered an offensive explosion in the NBA. Teams averaged 20 more points per game after the changes. With fewer slowdowns and more possessions, stars could now post gaudy stat lines. It enabled the emergence of Wilt Chamberlain, who set new scoring records, and fans responded favorably. NBA attendance increased over 40% within 5 years of widening the lane as people wanted to experience the high-energy events in person. The rule changes had shifted the NBA style to highlight athleticism and scoring, a perfect precursor to the impending arrival of Julius Erving and Michael Jordan. They would become the faces of the sport and elevate it to new heights. The global popularity of the league today traces back to these pivotal innovations. By removing limitations and restrictions, the NBA empowered players to showcase their skills in exciting ways. The decision to widen the lane changed the geometry of the court and opened up opportunities for offensive creativity. Basketball was transformed forever. The NBA overcame its early struggles by making revolutionary rule changes. The shot clock and widening of the lane in mid-century altered the DNA of the sport. Faster pace, higher scores, and room for athletic moves revolutionized basketball. Removing these limitations allowed players to thrive and interest in the league to soar. The global phenomenon the NBA is today owes its origins to these bold steps taken at a pivotal crossroads in its history. The decision to remove impediments to scoring and let talent shine changed the trajectory of the NBA forever.